Okay, so I'm going to just go ahead and get started. Hello, everyone. I am Riley, developer advocate here at Gadget. And today I am going to build a post purchase sell application for Shopify. Just a little bit of housekeeping before I get started. I kind of reiterate all this, but if there's anyone new who's joined, this is going to be recorded. So you'll be able to watch the replay on YouTube afterwards. I will also have the app I build available as a forkable app for Gadget. So if you do want to look through the code, fork it yourself, try out the extension, everything will be in that forkable Gadget app. That'll probably be available later today or tomorrow. And we are streaming on Twitch. So if you prefer to watch on Twitch, you can go ahead and do that. I believe Emma tweeted out a link, but it's just Riley at Gadget is the name. And finally, if you do have any questions, I use the Q&A feature here in Zoom. And I will try to answer questions as I go. I've also had some questions that were pre-submitted. I will get to those at the end. So I'm going to dive into it now. So post-purchase product offers in Shopify. I will note right away, there were a couple questions about this. These are listed as in beta. That doesn't mean that you can't build and deploy them on stores. You can, but just as a note, they are in beta, and you do need to request access when you're building these into an app. So what I'm going to build today will be a post-purchase product offer. It'll be pretty similar to Shopify's own tutorial right here. It'll actually look very similar to this because I've just taken a lot of the front-end code from their example. And what we're going to do is instead of hard coding some kind of offer, we're actually going to use OpenAI, their embeddings API, to make recommendations based on the products that are in a shopper's cart. So this is going to be items that they've already bought. So the purchase is complete. And this is a kind of post-purchase offer. So we'll be able to use those items, use some vector embeddings, determine what product kind of matches closest with the items currently in the cart, and then offer that to the buyer as a post-purchase offer. Post-purchase is a little interesting. Shopify has a little diagram here how it works. There's kind of two main phases. So I am going to spend most of my time on the post-purchase part. There is a should render section to this app extension, and this will just determine whether or not we're even going to make this offer. In this case, we're also going to call Gadget, see what my offer should be with OpenAI and return it. And then there is a second phase, which is render. So like actually draw the extension or draw that extension page. And this is where, in our case, merchants are going to be able to, yes, accept the offer or decline. So I have a little Gadget diagram. This is a little messy here, but this top section here, we're going to be setting up a Shopify connection and pulling in product data to Gadget. And we're going to use the OpenAI connection to generate vector embeddings for all of the products in our database. The next piece down here is the post-purchase extension setup. And like I said, there should render and render. So we're going to use two HTTP routes in Gadget. We're going to first make a request from the should render to get the offer. So that's going to be step one. Step two is we're going to take all of the items that are currently in that buyer's cart, so everything they've already checked out with, and we're going to generate a vector embedding for that. So that's going to be step two. We're going to make that OpenAI request. Step three of our extension is we're going to do a cosine similarity. So we're going to find a product that exists in our database and doesn't currently exist in our cart that most closely matches the vector embedding we generated from those cart contents. Step four is we're going to return this offer to the extension. And then finally, it renders. And then there's kind of a decision point. If the buyer does accept the offer, it wants to add this new item to the cart, there is another HTTP route that needs to be called, and we need to do some token signing. So I'm going to get into the token signing and kind of auth pieces a little later as we go. My first step, I am going to go ahead and set up my Shopify connection in Gadget. So I'm going to start with a Shopify app template. I will go post, purchase, upsell, webinar. Perfect. And get started. So this creates my new Gadget app for me. This will be my hosted Postgres database, Node.js backend, and React frontend powered by Vite. I'm actually not going to use my React front end at all for this tutorial. So that'll be a bit of a change from other ones I've done. And I'm going to go ahead and connect to Shopify. So I'm going to go through the partners dashboard because I do want an app extension. That's a requirement. So I'm going to just go into my partners dashboard and create a new app here. Post purchase, upsell. Awesome. And now I can copy this client ID and secret back to my Gadget app. And I will press connect. So here I chose what Shopify API scopes and data models I want to include in my app. So in this case, I just need to be able to read my products, and I need my product image, and product variant data models. So I'm going to go ahead and press confirm. You'll notice that these models are all imported, as well as some default models, sync shop GDPR requests that we import every time. We're now subscribed to webhooks for all of these models, so that any product webhooks we will be subscribed to, and we'll be able to run a historical data sync on all of our product data. I'm not going to do that quite yet. I'm going to finish setting up my connection and then actually do some extension building before I run a data sync. So I'm going to go ahead and copy this app URL and redirection URL back to my partner's dashboard. Perfect. I'm going to save these changes, and then I'm going to go ahead and install right on a store. Go back to the overview tab, select the store, and I'm going to do my checkout branding testing store. So I haven't written a line of OAuth code, not a line of code at all, actually. The Gadget handles all that for me, so I can just install immediately. And fantastic. So my app is now installed on my development store. This is a React front end. It is hosted on Gadget. You see this page is powered by shop page JSX. If I do go back to my Gadget app, there's a front end folder. Shop page JSX is here. And you can see this is just normal Polaris code and React. I'm not going to touch front ends anymore for this app. But at the end, I'll kind of mention how you can extend what I build, and there might be the use case for a front end at that point. So I'm actually going to pivot away from Gadget for now, and I am going to go ahead and set up my Shopify CLI app. So I'm going to just go yarn create Shopify app, and I will give it the same name, post purchase upsell webinar. I do not want to select the remix template. Gadget handles the rest of my app stack, so I just want an extension only app. So I can select start by adding your first extension. And this will create a new Shopify CLI project for me that I can generate extensions in. Taking a bit of time. Perfect. So I'm just going to change directory into my app. So webinar, perfect. And I will generate an extension right away. Awesome. I'm going to choose my partner's organization, the beautifully named Riley Test Stuff. I do not want to create a new app in Shopify. So this will be on the partner's dashboard because I already created that one that I connected my Gadget app to. So I'm just going to connect to my existing app. And perfect. So now I get to select what type of extension. This will be the post-purchase UI. Leave the name as default. I'm going to use JavaScript React. And this will go ahead and generate my extension for me. Awesome. That was pretty speedy. Now I can actually flip over and open this up in VS Code. Excellent. So this is my app. Got some default scaffolding. The interesting stuff, or stuff I'm interested in at least, is in the extensions folder. We have a post-purchase UI. And in here, we see we have the typical TOML file you get when you're working with extensions. You get a package JSON, and then inside the source file, there is an index. So this should already work. We should be able to like draw our post-purchase page just with this scaffolding. So I'm going to try that out first. I'm just going to go yarn dev to start up my app. Now there are I'm going to select the same store that I installed my admin app on, checkout branding testing. Excellent. And Cloudflare is working today, which is always a nice bonus. So I'm going to open up the dev console here. Now, there's something a little different with post-purchase extensions. Instead of being able to view it right in checkout, for example, if you're familiar with checkout UI extensions, you actually have to click on this. There is a Chrome browser you need to install. I've already gone ahead and done that. And then you need to open up the extension. Sorry, Chrome browser extension you need to install. Open up that extension, copy this URL, and paste it in. So I'm just going to go ahead and do that now. I've already got the extension installed. Click on options here, and I need to paste in this, press save. Now I should be able to see my extension in the checkout. So if I go to my online store and complete a purchase, I will just select one of my sample snowboards here. Let's zoom through this as quickly as possible. Pay now. And this should take us to a post-purchase page. Awesome. So we know the extension is working. This is the page we're actually going to modify. So right now it does nothing. It's just default scaffolding. Clicking primary button doesn't do anything. So I can go to my order confirmation and then continue shopping to go back to my store. So we know this is working, which is great. The next thing I'm going to do is set up just a hard-coded product to be offered. So this will help us kind of go through the post-purchase extension requirements, because it is a little different than checkout extensions or other types of Shopify extensions, because we need to do some JSON Web Token validation and signing. So I'm going to flip back to Gadget now. Like I mentioned before, we need 2 HTTP routes in Gadget, one to actually generate an offer and one to sign the change set. So that will be if the buyer accepts the offer and wants to add that item to their purchase. So I'm going to go back to Gadget, and I am going to go ahead and I will create these 2 routes. Just post offer.js and post sign change set.js. Now, the reason I'm using routes instead of global actions is because I'm actually going to be passing, like I mentioned, a JSON Web Token, a JWT, as a bearer token in the header. So I'm just going to use routes so I can read that header. I am going to install a couple packages using Yarn. So just Yarn add, it'll be Fastify cores, JSON Web Token. So that's so I can actually decode and then encode a token. And then I do need UUID for sending a payload back. I will explain all of these as I go. Just want to install them ahead of time. While that's installing, I am going to create a folder here, just called utils. Util. That's where I wrote utils. And I'll create a file in this folder calling it offerutils.js. Awesome. And so I'm going to actually paste some stuff in offerutils first. So this is going to be the hard-coded offer that I return to my extension. This offer, if I go back to Shopify's tutorial, I am pulling it directly from Shopify's own tutorial. So I'm using my own product image and title and variant ID, but I am just pulling this. Shopify's tutorial uses a hard-coded example, so I'm going to do the same to start. I am using a get offers function here, and I am just returning this hard-coded offer. It's an array, just make a note of that. I also have this get token helper function that I'm just going to use to split out the authorization header that comes in with my route request. Awesome. There's one more kind of setup thing I need to do because I'm using routes. I do need to handle cores. So I did install the Fastify cores plugin. This is the worst way to handle cores right now because I'm just allowing a request from any domain. In reality, I would probably want to go ahead and add, methods. Both of my things are posts, so I could add post here, and I could make the origin. If I'm just building a custom app, I could make it my individual store or be more specific with my origin at least. For now, I'm just going to leave it as origin true because it will allow me to kind of show off what I'm doing here. So the next piece is post offer. So we have this offer route. I am just going to copy paste code for time's sake, and then I will get to explaining it. So what's going to happen here is the extension is going to send an request for an offer to this gadget route. So what I want to do is I want to first verify that the request is coming from Shopify, and that's going to be using that JSON web token. And then I can go ahead and you see down here, we're calling get offers from my utils and just returning that as a response. All of this code up here is just validating the incoming token to make sure that it is coming from Shopify. So I have my get token helper. They're just going to get that authorization token that we send from the extension. This is where I use my JWT package to actually verify the token. And we need to compare this against my Shopify API secret from my partner's app. So I actually need to set this as an environment variable. If I go to settings and environment variables, I'm just going to go Shopify API secrets. And I'm also going to add one for the API is a key ID. I can't remember what I called it. I believe it's API key. So I'm going to actually go back to my partner's dashboard here. And the same two values I used in my app when I set up my connection, I'm just going to go ahead and copy these into my environment variables. My secret, everyone's going to see my secret here. It's okay. I'm going to be deleting this app as soon as this webinar is done. I've encrypted it for now, so we should be good. So now I can use this API key and secret to sign these changes. It's going to be really the secret. So this will actually give me a decoded token. And then from this token, I get a reference ID that I compare to a reference ID that I pass in with my request body. If these two things don't match, the request did not come from Shopify, and I return a 401. Otherwise, I can return my offers. This will make a bit more sense once I get to the extension piece, because we'll actually get to see what we're passing to this route. Sign change set. I have to do the same. Ultimately, this should probably be a shared module here, but it's the same token validation dance. So if the reference ID coming in from Shopify does not match the decoded token or reference ID from my decoded token, that is compared against my secret, then it is not coming from the right source and we return a 401. Otherwise, and remember this sign change set route is called when the user or when the buyer accepts the offer and wants to add it to their cart. We need to make this JSON web token payload. We sign it again with our secret and then send the token as a response. And you might be asking yourself, okay, where the heck does this payload come from? Like, what are these fields? Shopify does have a JWT specification document for these post-purchase extensions. So if you do go just to their post-purchase extension docs, scroll down, see there's JWT specification. And this will explain all of the fields I'm passing in. So the ID, the issuer, subject, and issued time. These are all just these fields here, as well as the changes that we're actually applying to the cart. So that's going to be my two routes for now. I'm going to have that hard-coded response. Now I can go and actually build out my extension. I'm going to open a new tab here. So one neat thing is that I can actually use my Gadget API client in my extension to call my backend routes. So I can actually go into my extensions folder and go yarn add Gadget client. And I called my app post purchase upsell webinar. And this will actually install the API client in my project, which will allow me to use it to make fetch requests against my HTTP routes. So it looks like it installed. I can see it now in my package JSON file in my extension. So I'm going to go ahead. I'll create an api.js file here. And I'm just going to copy paste. Not a lot of code, but a little easier. And I can go here, post-purchase upsell webinar. So this now exposes my client as an object that I can use in my extension file. Now I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to paste a boatload of code here. So you can see, like other Shopify extensions, UI extensions, whether it's checkout UI, admin UI, post purchase UI, there is a unique API and a unique set of components that you have to use when you are interacting with this API. So flipping back to Shopify's documentation quickly, right down here, it does have extension points API, components available, configuration available. So there is a lot of kind of unique stuff to this extension that is worth checking out. Uh, Flip back here. Now let's get to the extension itself. So as I mentioned before, there's a should render phase and a render phase. So these are both just two different functions in my extension right now. So should render, this is where I go ahead and get my offer, and then I return. You see, I'm returning render true. I tell my extension whether or not it should be rendered. So in this case, I just have render set to true. In reality, I might want to see like, hey, do I actually get offers back as a response? If not, set this to false so I don't see my page. But it's easier when I'm developing to just always see the page, whether my offers are working properly or not. So I just have render hard coded to true. Now up here, this is where I am actually making the fetch call to my offer endpoint using my API client. So the Gadget API client does have a built-in fetch that allows us to make route calls. You can also just use the built-in fetch. I believe there's like built-in browser fetch. The advantage to using the Gadget API client is that it gets the context of the current shop. So in the back end, in my route, if I needed to go connections.shopify.current, if I've used my API client to make the request, that current shop will indeed be set, which is great. We do have a question. Is it possible to call Gadget API in a similar way from checkout extensions? Yes. So we can do this in checkout extensions. We can do it in admin extensions as well. Admin extensions are pretty cool because we're actually validating. So you do get the correct user authorization scope authorization. So you'll get that Shopify app user role applied. So you can actually properly scope by store and by role. In this case, because it's in the checkout, all of my requests are going to be unauthenticated. So that's just something to note. It'll be similar in a checkout extension where your requests are going to be unauthenticated. Okay. So it is just a fetch. So it's going to be a post request. Content type is going to be JSON. This is where I am sending that token that we are decoding. So it's coming straight from Shopify. There's an input data parameter, and I am just passing along this token. And this is a JSON web token that has been signed with your API secret. So remember, if I flip back here to offer, I am grabbing that token from my headers, and then I am verifying this token. I'm decoding it using the API secret. And I set that as an environment variable. So that just kind of ties that in together. So this is coming straight from Shopify. We're shipping it along. We're verifying that's correct. And then Shopify is also giving me a reference ID. And that is what I am comparing against the token. So you can see I'm getting my reference ID from my request body, and I'm making sure that the decoded reference ID that comes from my decoded token is equal to my reference ID. So if it's not equal, that's when we reply with a 401. So that's kind of a tricky thing to set up the first time. So that's really if you take away anything from this webinar, that's really the important part, is you have to do that JWT validation dance for both routes, your offer and your sign change set. So this will actually just get a response, which will contain our offer. We're just getting the JSON response from the response object. And then Shopify also gives us this storage object. And we're going to go ahead and just save our offers to this storage. And you can see this render extension can optionally make use of data stored during should render to expedite time to first meaningful paint. So this is the way Shopify recommends storing any sort of offer data or data that's going to be rendered, because it's just a little snappier on the front end. And I will just mention, this should render is actually run before we get to the post-purchase page. It's actually on the payments information page that this is going to be run. So it'll be run ahead of time. Now in my render, I am using extension input. So this is the hook coming from Shopify. This gives us, once again, that storage where we're pulling our initial data that we saved up here, which will be our offers. There's going to be an input data field that we use down here, once again, to get our token and reference ID when we make our call to sign change set. There is a calculate change set and apply change set functions that are used. So calculate change set, we're just passing in changes that are made from the purchase option. So I'm just grabbing, you know how I'm returning an array of offers? I'm just grabbing the very first offer, saving it as a purchase option. And that purchase option has changes within it. Let's just flip back to the structure here. So you can see changes are what I am passing back. And in this case, it's going to be a variant. I'm adding one, and I'm actually able to add a discount here. So that's something neat, is I can add a discount without writing a function. So a neat little thing that you can just kind of take away as well. So I'm returning these changes. This is just, I'm pulling all of this right from Shopify's demo. I am going ahead and setting the calculated purchase and then setting loading to false. So this is just the use effect hook. I'm grabbing value from this calculated purchase that I have stored in my React state here. So my use effect will run, give me my calculated purchase. Then I'm grabbing things like my shipping amount, taxes, total, discounted price, original price. This is all just being used for display purposes. Then we have two functions below here. We have accept offer and decline offer. So if the user accepts the offer, I need to go ahead, make a request to sign change set. And this, once again, will validate that the request is coming from Shopify. It'll send the token and the reference ID, as well as the changes that are going to be made. And all this is doing, if we flip back to sign change set, we are, once again, we're going to validate that token. We're going to create this JSON Web Token payload, and we're actually going to sign it with the secret. So in this case, we're doing the signing. We're replying with this token. And then what we're doing is we are passing that token to Shopify, and we're using the apply change set function that they supply to us from this use extension input hook. Finally, there is a done. Done is called whether or not they accept the offer or decline the offer. It's just, okay, we're done here. Close the extension page, move on to the thank you page. Then all of this, I'm not going to lie, I pulled this, right from Shopify's example. So this is the unique set of components. I'm not going to get into this too much, but it is pretty similar to kind of the Polaris 12 components or other checkout components where we have block stacks, inline stacks that we can use for positioning. We're using text to display a banner. So let's see, do I still have my store open? I don't. We'll walk through this in a minute, and let's go through to a checkout now. Let's do a snowboard. I will just run through this. Perfect. Continue to payments. Pay now. Excellent. So this gives us our offer. So now that I have this page up, it's easier to run through some of the front end components. You can see we're using this callout banner to display some text. This is just this banner at the top here, where it's not too late to add this to your order. And then we are using a layout component below to display the product photo. We've kind of got a filler block stack here. So we've got the photo, a filler here. And then the rest is just a block stack that's showing all of our pricing information and product description. So this is the goggles. Hey, there's an updated price. This is the product description. And then all of the subtotal information. So there's these money line components. These are actually custom components down here, as well as the product description. Ultimately, these are all really just, it's text blocks and text containers, all just kind of smashed together in slightly different ways. Finally, there are button components, and this is where we're either accepting or declining the offer. So if I go ahead and accept the offer, this will call the sign change set route. And we can see the ski goggles have been added. There is that 15% discount. We do get a little, your order was updated. So you can see that the ski goggles were added. All of this is coming right from Shopify, but that is working now. So we at least know that our extension is working. Now we can actually do the OpenAI stuff. So we can get to the fun stuff. So I haven't run a data sync in Gadget yet. I haven't generated embeddings for my products. So I'm going to do that first. I'm going to go into plugins and actually enable this OpenAI connection. Give it a bit of time to start up here. You see the package.json is running because we're actually installing the OpenAI client into your project now. And what I can do is go to my Shopify product data model, and I'm going to add an embedding. There we go. I'm going to add an embedding field, and I'm going to go ahead and store vector embeddings. And now vector embeddings, there's lots of material you can read outside of what I'm going to say here, but we're effectively going to take our product name and our product description and convert it to a vector, which is just an array of numbers. The reason we do this is when we have all of our product information as an array of numbers, and then we get the current cart contents in, turn that into a vector, then we can just compare these vector fields using a method called cosine similarity to see what is the most similar. So I can take the cart contents, it'll just be the descriptions of products in the cart compared to descriptions of products in my database. Whatever's closest, I can offer that as a product. So I'm going to go ahead. I want these embeddings to be created whenever I create or update one of my product descriptions or titles. So I'm actually just going to go ahead and add a little utility file under the Shopify product, utils.js, paste in a bit of code. So this is just going to be a create embedded function that is shared between the create and update actions. So we're passing in the record. This will be the current Shopify product. The API is my current Gadget API. So you can see down here, this is what I'm using to actually save the embedding we generate to my Shopify product. Now, when I imported all of these data models, I'm just going to touch on this very briefly because we are running a little tight on time here. So when I imported my Gadget data models, I also generated a CRUD API for all of these models and subscribed to webhook changes. So this API, you can see I'm using the internal API to update the actual product data model. And so I'm going to go ahead and update my product and set that custom embedding field on my model. I have a logger, I'm writing to the logs here, and then connections is maybe the interesting part. So what I'm doing here is if there's no embedding, say for my product or the title or the body of my Shopify product changed, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to use my OpenAI connection. So I am using the built-in Gadget credentials, which gives every team $50 of credit to experiment. And we do also have support for the latest models. So that's GPT-4 Turbo, Turbo with Vision, I believe it's called, as well as Dolly 3. In this case, I'm just using the good old-fashioned embeddings API. So I'm going to go ahead and create an embedding, passing in the title and body of my product. Going to get the response and just save it on my product. So this will run once I set it to my create and update actions or run this function as part of my create or update actions. This will run when I run a historical data sync or a webhook is fired in Shopify. So I'm just going to go import. What did I call this here? Create embedding utils. And then I can just await create embedding and pass in parameters, record, API, logger, and connections. Awesome. I can do the exact same thing in my update. Not really required for this demo, but it's kind of nice to have. And perfect. Donna, we have a question. Can we close the offer after a suitable period when the order would have gone to fulfillment? And after that time, would the ad fail? That is a good question. I'm not sure, to be perfectly honest. I do imagine if you want to have some sort of time limit, you can put that in the signed sheet. You can actually probably set a timeout in that render function here, or have some sort of timing method, or you can pull. But I imagine if you just do a set timeout and then call done, you might want to display some sort of countdown timer in the UI. But I imagine if you just use a timeout, call done, it'll go to the thank you page. So I imagine something like that would be possible if you're looking to do that. Okay, so I will go ahead and continue generating my embeddings now. So I've set up my code. Now I'm going to go ahead and sync all of my historical product data into my app. So I'm going to go ahead and trigger this manually. There's also a way to trigger this data sync using code, but for now, we'll just run it manually. And it seems it was successful. If I go to my products here, awesome. They do. Most of them seem to have embeddings. It looks like one was skipped. There a couple were skipped. So those might be interesting to look in the logs. Let's see here. I'm not seeing anything. What I'm going to do, I'm wondering if there's a rate limit issue here. So instead of dealing with this issue, just because we're, time's sake, I'm actually just going to go ahead and delete these products. And I can just run another data sync and see if they actually get embeddings this time. Is this one of them was goggles? I see them, ski goggles. Okay, well, everything seems to have embedding now. Not really sure what happened there, but we look okay. So I am going to move on. This will be kind of the final step. So right now I'm using this hard-coded offer. So what I actually want to do is take in the contents of the cart, pass it to OpenAI, create an embedding, and then do a comparison against these embeddings in my database. So I'm going to go ahead. I'm going to update the should render function here in my extension. I'm actually the only changes are I am grabbing the product variant IDs from the cart. So this is just off of that input data parameter that Shopify provides you. I'll just go input data.initialpurchase.line items map and grab the product variant IDs. And then I'm just passing these into the body of my offer request. Nothing else changed here. I probably could have just typed that one out. Flip back here. So now I need to actually accept these coming in. This is going to be product variant IDs. So that'll be something comes in with my body. And I'm going to want to modify get offers so that I can actually pass in some parameters. So I am just update offer utils first. So I am, once again, I'm just going to paste some code. So my offers are still here. You see, we're not using it anymore. We're grayed out. I have my get token still. Get offers now is different. So I am accepting API logger connections and these variant IDs. So I am just going to go ahead, paste these in here. And these are all valid parameters. So we're good. So now we're actually going to call get offers and it will run some things for us instead of returning a hard-coded response. So I have two extends. I do. Good catch. Thank you, Maruna. Yes. Excellent. That would not have gone well. So I'll get back here. Get offers. So what this is going to do, I am mapping across my product variant IDs, and I'm actually just grabbing product information from my variants. Now I'm grabbing the product title, body, and ID. I can actually get this information from the extension. The reason I'm doing this and the reason I have get offers in this separate utility file is I can actually use this exact same code to power a pre-purchase checkout offer as well, like a pre-purchase extension. And actually, the first time I wrote this project, I built it as a pre-purchase extension. So this code can be shared between the two. And in that case, I need to grab products from my database, I believe. There actually might be a way to grab that information from the extension as well, but I'm just grabbing product information, really. Products in cart. If there are products in cart, I'm just grabbing these IDs, and then I am creating an input prompt that I am going to send to OpenAI. So it's just going to be, this is a list of product titles and descriptions in a shopping cart. I want to find a product that can be recommended based on similarity to these products. And then I am just mapping my product title and description as a blob. So I'm passing this all in to OpenAI. Once again, I'm using connections.openai.embeddings.create. I'm creating that vector embedding using this input. And then this is where I fetch products in my database that match this embedding. So I am fetching products. I'm using api.shopifyproduct.find many. So this is going to find products in my gadget database. And I am going to sort by cosine similarity. So this is going to be on my embedding field on my Shopify product. I'm going to pass the embedding I created here uh, with my prompt from my cart contents. And it is going to find the 5 most similar products to my cart contents. So that's what these two sort and first conditions are doing. I'm just going to select very specific fields from my product. So I'm actually going to select once again, the title, the body. I'm going to grab the ID and price of the variant because those are required for the offer. And then I'm just grabbing the images source because I also need the URL so I can display an image. Finally, I'm adding a couple filters. I am going to filter by not in product ID. So this is just the list of product IDs of products already in my cart. So I don't want to offer something that they've already bought. And finally, I'm adding a shop ID filter. This isn't required for my app because I'm only building it on a single store. It's a custom app. But if I were building a public app, this is where I can use my connections.shopify.current_shop-id. That will work because I'm making the request in my extension using my Gadget client. Once I get these potential offers, I'm actually just grabbing the first one. Do I need to grab the first 5? No, I could probably just grab the first one. So I am just grabbing this first offer. I am just flattening some of the objects here. So I'm getting the very first variant is what I'm offering. There's no interesting logic here. I'm grabbing the very first image and then just formatting it in a object. I'm just going to write this to the logger. And then I do have a format offers function here. And this format of the offer that I'm passing in is the exact same as the hard-coded one I have up here. So instead of just hard-coded fields, I'm passing in my offer title, my image URL, the product description, original and discounted price. I'm just using the same price for now. And then I am continuing to offer a 15% discount on this variant. So this will return an actual dynamic offer to my route here that we pass to my front end. And so we should be good to go. I think everything should be working. Sign change set. This doesn't need to change. This can stay the exact same. We're passing in the changes as an object, so we should be good. So let's test this out. I'm going to add rain boots. And let's go back and I'll add a raincoat. And let's go through a checkout here. And we'll go through a couple checkouts just to validate that the cart contents are kind of what we expect. So if I pay now, this should call that offers endpoint and I get offered an umbrella. So I bought rain boots, raincoat. They have a similar product description to the umbrella. So I'm offered an umbrella, which is awesome. I can go ahead and pay now. And this umbrella should be added to my cart. Awesome. So that's fantastic. Let's run through one more time and I will just show you. Let's add ski goggles and a ski helmet. And if I go through checkout now, I'm hoping that I'll be offered something that goes better with ski goggles and a helmet. A snowboard. So this is where my app is kind of goofy because I'm offering it's a discounted snowboard, but it's an $1,000, still an $800 purchase when there's, $100 in the cart. So maybe this is a goofy offer. I'm going to decline this offer. You see what happens here is we just go right to the cart here. But we do get different offers based on the cart contents, which is fantastic. So this is the complete app. This is kind of the end-to-end build. I know I ran through this pretty quickly because it's pretty hefty, but this is how you could do a post-purchase using Gadget. I do want to talk a little bit about how I can extend this app. And it's particular in the kind of offer building here. So right now I'm kind of doing a naive, like whatever is the closest match to my vector embedding, just grab the first couple products. I can go ahead and add additional filters if I want to filter on price, for example, If I want to have just a set of products that I have whitelisted, so I could build an embedded admin app in my store where I select products that can be offered. I can also apply different discount fields in that embedded admin app. So right now it's hard coded to 15% here. But if I want to offer some sort of different discount, that's also an option. You can also play around with the prompt. So this is just kind of a standard prompt, but you can maybe do some prompt engineering to get some more interesting results. So that's another option. And Shopify also, I will just pop back to their docs. Now they have this lovely list here of different things you can actually build with this post purchase. So if you don't want to do just upsells, survey requests, feedback, donation requests, some different discount code stuffs or loyalty signups. So there's actually lots you can do with this post purchase. I just picked upsell because that was their tutorial. I do also just want to point out that they also have in addition to the kind of post purchase tutorial I walked through, they have a subscription tutorial, which is kind of interesting. So if you want to do hey, you bought the snowboard, it's in your cart, subscribe and save. It kind of seems weird to subscribe to a snowboard, but maybe you're a super hard code snowboarder and you really want a new snowboard every year or month. That could be an option. Maybe it's more applicable for consumable items, but hey, they have a tutorial that you can walk through. So that's kind of nice. Okay. So I had some pre-submitted questions I'm going to go through now. If you do have any questions, there's about 10 minutes left. I use the Q&A feature in Zoom, and let's go to some of the pre-submitted questions. So the first question I had was, what's my experience on how effective these post-purchase upsells are? They do require another purchase, and maybe it's more effective to plug other things like newsletters, apps, etc. And is it possible to show data based on the logged in user from their historical data? So this is a good question. To be perfectly honest, I don't have a fantastic answer. From kind of my rote googling around and talking to other people here, it is a single click experience. So you'll notice it wasn't like a whole new checkout. So adding it to the cart is pretty simple. And this is where I'm seeing 4% online. I'm seeing some people are saying they get up to 10%. I really think it depends based on what you're offering. So for example, if you're selling TVs or a merchant is selling TVs and it's like, hey, do you want, we can, in that should render function, we say, if the spend is greater than $1,000 when they're buying a new TV, maybe we're offering a, $200 sound bar at a 25% discount or something. You might get a higher conversion rate compared to like my example of, hey, I have $130 of snowboard equipment. Let's offer a $900 snowboard. Conversion is going to be a little lower. So I imagine based on what's being offered and how the offer is set up, you might get different results. I do think, in general, these pre-purchases are or post-purchases, pre-purchase and post-purchase are popular, and they do usually get what I've seen is, or what I've read is kind of single-digit conversion rate, but it is still an extra whatever percent. Now, would you prefer to offer a pre-purchase and then plug a newsletter or a sign up as part of the post-purchase? That's very possible. You could also do something where if they sign up, they get a discount code, or if you sign up, enter your email, you do get an offer on that page. So I think there are some different things you could possibly do with this post-purchase, whether you want to offer a product or not. Another question was, can we target collections as upsell triggers? You can write whatever custom logic you want inside of that should render or the offer route in Gadget. So if you want to do something targeting collections, you definitely can do that. I don't see any reason why that wouldn't be an option, depending on how you want to structure that collection trigger. So totally, I don't see why that wouldn't be an issue. You could write a little admin app to determine what collections you want to be triggered. There is a live question in your Shopify admin. You will have 2 orders if the offer is accepted. Let's go take a peek. I believe it is 148 orders. That's spicy. So I believe right here. So this is one of my accepted offers here. So it is actually coming in as a single order right now. So this is the original order. So it does look like it's combining it all. We do see that it is processing it as 2 separate payments here. but it is being appended to the same order. So, yes, one order is the answer to that question. There was a question about a hosting solution for this. So, like other Shopify extensions, Shopify is hosting your extension code. I don't need to set up any sort of custom hosting. I can probably just yarn deploy. Oh, got to go back to the extension or app root. If I go yarn deploy here, this will actually allow me to deploy my extension to Shopify's infrastructure, and I don't have to set up any custom hosting for this. And Gadget is hosting the rest of my app, so I actually don't need to deal with any hosting solutions. There's a question about auth between the app and the store. So I kind of walked through some of the auth stuff. So Gadget's handling auth with Shopify for your admin app. And then the JWT handling is how you are verifying that requests from the checkout are coming from Shopify. So I think I covered that material. If you do have any follow-up auth questions, feel free to ask in our Discord. Is post-purchase extension available yet outside of dev preview? So yes, I did mention it's in beta. Create. Where is Shopify's docs here? Getting started. I'm gonna just flip back here. So Shopify does list limitations and considerations somewhere on this page. I remember reading this morning, I believe, that request access. So you do have to request access, but you can install it. Public. Okay, it might be on a different docs page here, but you are able to put these on either public apps. So you can build these into public apps or custom apps for Plus merchants only. So that is kind of the limitation here. How can we customize the checkout page through the Gadget.dev platform? So you can't build your checkouts customizations in Gadget itself. This is where you need to use that separate Shopify CLI app. And this is going to be for checkout UI extensions, post-purchase UI extensions like this one, admin extensions, functions. Any of that has to be done in the CLI. So you have your Gadget app, your CLI app. Now, the key is to link both of these to the same partners app, like I did when I did my initial setup, because then you'll be able to actually release this all as a single app. What about all the new features OpenAI released this week? So as I mentioned before, we do have support for the latest OpenAI models. If I go to the package JSON file here, you see we are just using the OpenAI node client. This is the latest version. So if you had an idea where you wanted to use GPT Turbo, GPT Turbo, GPT-4 Turbo, or GPT-4 Turbo with Vision, you can go ahead and do that. In fact, yesterday, I believe there's a replay on YouTube. Kyle and Mo from Gadget here did a live stream where they built a app that writes product descriptions based on the image. So it actually used the GPT-4 Turbo with Vision model. So check that out. I think it's about an hour long if you're interested. There's another AI question. So other AI example has LangChain included. So this is going to be let's flip over here. Our chatbot tutorial here. AI product recommendation chatbot. So in this tutorial, we do use LangChain. You don't need to use LangChain anymore, I don't believe. I haven't updated the tutorial yet, but I think you could use either the new GPT models. You could try using the Assistance API for OpenAI, but I believe that there is a limitation on streaming results back from the Assistance API, or it's not built in. So you may need to do some tweaking there, but you could totally build a chatbot without using LangChain now. In fact, I would recommend trying to build a chatbot without LangChain. Awesome. So that is all the questions. We're right on time there, which is perfect. If anyone has any other questions, you can reach out to me on Discord. This will be available on YouTube, and I will also have all of the code available. I'll take all my extension code and toss it in the Gadget app so that you can just copy it over. And I think we're good. If you do have any recommendations for app builds you'd like to see, I am going to start doing kind of live app builds a couple times a week on Twitch and or YouTube. So if there's anything you'd like to see built, feel free to reach out, ping me on Discord, or just put it in one of our public channels in Discord. Until next time, thanks everyone for joining, and hope you enjoyed the session. Cheers.